A good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos, Parshas Behar, Bechukosai. This is the end of the book of Vayikra. We are Messiah. We complete the book of Vayikra, which is an amazing thing. The year is just flying, moving on. It's really been really incredible. And in Bechukosai, we know that we read the Tochacha, we read the curses, the first of the two places that is written in the Torah. And these curses are leveled against the Jewish people, that if we slide away from God, and it gives us seven arenas of sliding, 7 stages of sliding, and that if we slide away from God, then all these terrible things are going to happen to us. And then immediately after that section, one would imagine the parasha would end. That would be the last call of God to the Jewish people, that this is what's going to happen. Make sure that it doesn't. You would imagine that the parasha would end at that point. And then there are a few mitzvos after that section of the Torah until the conclusion of the book of Vayikra. And one of the mitzvos is the concept of erechim, the concept of valuation, of giving tzedakah, giving charity, of giving a donation, a pledge to the temple. A person wants to give a valuation of themselves to the temple. This is the way that it has to be done. And the Torah goes on to describe it. And you have to wonder, what's the shaychus? What's the connection? What does one thing have to do with the other? You just finished the curses. You just finished this incredibly emotional section of the Torah where the Baal Koreh, the person who's reading the Torah, reads it low so that we're not too frightened by it, and then we don't feel the pressure of knowing that this is what's going to happen to us. We try to move past it as quickly as possible. And then afterwards you talk about something that what seems really so mundane, it doesn't belong here. Why would that be the mitzvah that we would talk about? Of giving tzedakah, of giving charity, of valuating your money, valuating your own life. There's a pasuk that the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan kimati lahai kra, when Rabbi Yochanan would get to the following pasuk, Bachi, he would cry. And the pasuk is in Devarim, chapter 31, verse 21, V'haya kisim tzanoso, ros rabos vitzaros, that if these terrible these terrible evil things, rabos, many terrible evil things, vitsaros and tragedies and difficulties are going to happen to a person. And he used to cry. And he would say, Evet sherabu mamsilo ros vitsaros, a servant who his master brings upon him these evils and troubles. Takana yeshlo, is there a remedy for him? And he saw it as the condition of the Jewish people. So the Gemara wants to know, what is ros vitzaros? What is it that the pasuk is talking about when it says evils and troubles? So Amar Rav says, ros shenasos tzaros zulazu, kigon zibura va'akrava. Rav says that it's evils that become troubles for one another, like hornets and scorpions. You know, we're taught that for a hornet bite, so then there is one treatment. And for a scorpion bite is the opposite treatment. And that's what Rav says the pasuk is referring to when it says these terrible tragedies are going to happen to you. It's going to be ro'os and saros. It's going to be ro'os, it's going to be evils that become troubles for the other. That each one of them really counteracts the other, that you can't take care of them. You can't try to heal yourself, because if you're going to heal yourself from the one, you're going to harm the other. And if you try to heal yourself from the other, you're going to harm the one. And that's what ros, rabos, vitzaros means. Comes along Shmuel, and Shmuel gives a different explanation. And Shmuel says, what's ros, rabos, vitzaros? What are these terrible tragedies that are going to happen to a person? Za'amamtzi lo mos la'ani. It's referring to a person who provides money for a poor person as a loan, b'shas dochko, when the person is down in his financial circumstances, when he's in the most pressure. What? That's ros, tsaros? That's evils and troubles? That sounds like a good thing. You're down and somebody lends you money, somebody helps you get out of your problems. The rabbis have a lot of different explanations of exactly what's going on here. But if you lend a person money at the moment that they're most down, And it seems to be saying that at the moment that they're the most down, that they're in their worst financial situation, at a moment that he's down and that he's pressurized, why is that a bad thing? That's a good thing. It's an amazing thing. Thank God there's somebody that's willing to lend money to a person. The Klei Yakar says an unbelievable explanation. Says the Klei Yakar that it's human nature, that as long as everything is going smooth and as long as everything is fine, life is just humming along. So then we tend to think that it's just going to keep going this way. And we sort of get into the flow and get into the groove, and we just keep it going. And then tragedy strikes. And when tragedy strikes, we're forced to reassess our lives. Suddenly we're davening. Suddenly we're giving tzedakah. Suddenly we're doing things that we have never done before. And that's the message of the Torah. And it's part of the tochacha. It's part of the curses. Don't wait until tragedy strikes. Don't become reawakened only when there is a tzara. But increase charity. Increase mitzvahs. Examine yourself, examine your life, examine your direction when things are good. Don't wait until you have all this happen to you, until the teichacha, the curses, until your life unravels. Don't wait to then finally look at yourself and say, ooh, it's time, maybe I give something to tzedakah, maybe I give a little charity, maybe I do a little praying. Don't wait until then. That's an amazing message. That's what Shmuel is telling us. You know what rose sorrows are? You know what terrible tragedies are? As Shmuel said, it's somebody who gives money to a poor person, b'shas dochko. That b'shas dochko doesn't mean at the time when the poor person is down. It means when the time when the giver is down. That's a tragedy. That a person waits until things are down, and it's only at that moment that they then give. It's at that moment that they reassess and they say, oh my gosh, I need to do something. And they didn't think of that beforehand. And they didn't do that beforehand, and they didn't do it when things were good, to recognize and to think and to reassess. That's the Ros Rabos Vitzaros. That's the tragedy. That's the travesty. That's the shame. What a shame. I've been saying over the past couple of weeks, I don't know of anybody that hasn't reassessed their lives. I don't know of anybody that hasn't gotten this message and hasn't realized it's time to reassess their lives even before personal tragedy strikes, just from the fact that our lives were stopped in the middle and we had a chance to think. We had a chance to reassess what's really important to us, what's really valuable to us. How do we want our families to run? How do we want our lives to run? But now our challenge is to hold on to that. Our challenge is to hold on to what's going to be in 4 weeks, in 5 weeks, in 6 weeks. What's going to be 2 months after life comes back to normal? When 3 months, 4 months, a half a year, when those masks come off, when the gloves come off, when we're standing back with each other, when life returns back to normal. Are we just back in the same place and have to wait for another enormous moment to happen in order for us to wake up and to think and to reassess? Or have we gotten into the mode of reassessing, gotten into the mode of rethinking, of looking at ourselves and saying, I'm not going to wait until the tragedy strikes again. I'm constantly going to be reassessing. I'm constantly going to be reshifting and reshaping who I am and who my family is and what our lives are all about. That's the message of the Torah. Toichacha, curses, tragedy, travesty. But the real travesty is that you didn't chap the moments beforehand. And that you only waited after to figure out how to make that assessment, how to give that tzedakah, how to give that charity, how to do that kindness, how to do that goodness. Our job is to do it before tragedy strikes. And when we do it, to learn how to hold on to it. To hold on to it, to let us change us, and to shift the direction of our lives. That's my thought for this week. You know, we have a lot of amazing things coming up. Shavuos is on its way. And it doesn't look like we're going to be back in shul. But that's also beautiful. There are beautiful ways to celebrate Shavuos and to get ready for the giving of the Torah. That's going to happen whether we're in shul or whether we're not in shul. Shavuos morning, when we wake up and we daven, and then we read the Torah reading, we read that section of the Torah, the giving of the Torah, that's Kabbalas HaTorah. God's just doing it to each one of us as an individual. We're all going to have our own mountains. And God's going to give every one of us the Torah. We're going to have that reacclaiming the Torah, which is going to happen for every single person inside of their house. But we're going to do a little preparation before. Keep your eyes open for some special things that are going to be in the mail. 4 shuls, 2 shuls, 4 rabbis, 1 Torah. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Keep your eyes open. Gifts, little things. We're thinking about you. Keep your eyes open. 2 shuls, 4 rabbis, 1 Torah. Have an amazing Shabbos. And in Mirz Hashem, we'll see you on Sunday night for our hangout with the rabbis. Rabbi Reich and I hang out in my Zoom room, just schmoozing, just talking, people sharing. It's beautiful. Join us Sunday night at 8 o'clock. It'll be wonderful to see you. Have a beautiful Shabbos.